You know exactly what's wrong with it. The job that drains you, the relationship that feels more like maintenance than connection, the apartment, the city, the routine that stopped fitting a long time ago. You can name the problem in one sentence. So why are you still there? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Staying isn't usually about not knowing. It's not even about not caring enough to change. Your brain has a set of very specific, very ancient mechanisms that make leaving feel more dangerous than staying, even when staying is what's actually hurting you. Today, we're going to break down exactly why that happens, and more importantly, what it actually takes to override it. Segment 1. The sunk cost trap. The first force at work is something behavioral economists call the sunk cost fallacy, but it shows up in everyday life as a quiet, persistent thought. I've already put so much into this. 3 years into a relationship, 5 years at a company, a decade in a city you never chose for yourself. The longer you've invested, the more your brain treats leaving as a loss of everything you've already spent: time, energy, identity, rather than as the prevention of further loss. Psychologists Hal Arkees and Catherine Bloomer demonstrated this back in the 1980s with a simple experiment. People who had already paid for a ski trip were more likely to go even after discovering a better trip was available for free, just because they didn't want to waste the first investment. Your brain does the same math with relationships, careers, and cities. It's not rational. It's not even really about the future. It's about protecting the story that the past wasn't wasted. Segment 2. The devil you know. The second mechanism is uncertainty aversion. Neuroscience research, including work from Rob Rutledge at UCL, has shown that the brain often treats uncertainty as more threatening than a known negative outcome. A bad situation that's predictable can feel psychologically safer than an unknown one, even a potentially better one. This is why people stay in jobs they hate rather than risk an unfamiliar one. It's why people stay in relationships that have stopped working rather than face the unknown of being alone. The brain isn't asking which option is better, it's asking which option is more certain. And certainty almost always wins, even when certainty is misery. This is also tied to what researchers call the status quo bias, a well-documented tendency to prefer things stay the same simply because they're already that way. Change requires the brain to recalculate everything: new risks, new unknowns, new ways the future could go wrong. Staying requires no recalculation at all. Segment 3. Identity gets involved. Here's where it gets more personal. The longer you stay in a situation, the more that situation becomes part of how you see yourself. You're not just an employee at a company, you're a company person. You're not just dating someone, you're someone who doesn't give up. Leaving doesn't just mean changing your circumstances. It means admitting the story you've been telling about yourself wasn't entirely true. That the relationship you called solid wasn't. That the career path you defended to your family was wrong for you. This is where cognitive dissonance takes over. The discomfort of holding two conflicting truths at once. I am a person who makes good decisions, and this decision isn't working. Most people resolve that discomfort not by changing the decision, but by changing how they think about it. They minimize the problem. They explain it away. Anything to avoid admitting the dissonance. Segment 4. Why leaving still works. So what actually breaks the pattern? Research on decision-making suggests the shift usually isn't a single dramatic moment. It's a recalibration of what safe means. People who successfully leave bad situations tend to do one specific thing differently. They stop asking, "What am I losing?" and start asking, "What is staying actually costing me?" That reframe matters because it activates a completely different part of the brain's risk calculation. Loss aversion, the tendency to weigh losses about twice as heavily as equivalent gains, first documented by Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, only works in one direction at a time. If you're focused on what you'll lose by leaving, you'll stay. If you start tracking what you're already losing by staying, time, health, opportunities quietly passing by, the math flips. If any of this sounds familiar, you're not weak and you're not indecisive. You're running exactly the program evolution built: a brain wired to prioritize certainty over almost everything else. But understanding the wiring is the first step to overriding it. If you've ever stayed in a situation longer than you should have, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. What finally made you leave? And if this helped you see your own patterns more clearly, subscribe, because next week we're talking about why we repeat the same relationship patterns even when we know better. Don't forget subscribe, like the video, and turn on notifications.